like to welcome Mr. Rajesh Dhuddu, Co-Chair IAMAI Blockchain Committee and VP Practice and Leader, Blockchain and Cybersecurity, Tech Mahindra, followed by a brief presentation of the report by Mr. Prashant and Mr. Sumanta, leading the blockchain team at EY. Over to you, Mr. Dhuddu.
Yeah, thank you, sister. Pleasure to be on this session. I say that not just for the sake of saying it, because this is the culmination of an effort that has been spent over the last 1 year or so. The day when we started, those memories are still fresh in my mind. When we got together at IAMI and we wanted to talk about a consultation paper which basically profiles in terms of the blockchain journey in India and also identify various verticals where blockchain has a very good potential of implementation, and also in terms of profile the activity that various service providers are contributing to. And we went through several motions before making this paper a reality, thanks to the extraordinary support from EY in making this a reality, thanks to Prashant and his team members who spent a lot of time and effort in putting this paper together. Without much ado, I will hand it over to Prashant to give us a perspective of what all is there in paper, what to expect from this consultation paper, and how is it different from other consultation papers that we have already seen in the industry. Over to you, Prashant.
Hi, everyone. This is Prashant Garg. I'm a partner with EY. Among the various things that I do, I've got one more responsibility of running the blockchain practice for EY here in India. Now, interestingly, what we do is that EY's blockchain practice is the only practice in EY that is run as a global blockchain practice. So what we have, and I'm going to put my screen on display so that you can see the paper as I put it to life. Just give me a moment. I'm going to make it full screen. Yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm going to do it full screen while I speak. So essentially, the blockchain practice in EY is run as a global practice, and we have been working on the overall global agenda of ensuring that blockchain is adopted across the world, across businesses, because primarily the way the blockchain was conceived and the way the last 10 years of blockchain has been, at least people in India have not really realized what blockchain is all about. So between IAMAI and us, between Sumanta and myself, who primarily run the blockchain practice for EY, we have spent the last 10 months talking about what we can do. Almost all the life cycle of Corona we have lived through, discussing between ourselves the future of blockchain in India. And essentially, when we thought about writing this paper, we wanted to focus on the blockchain technology and its industry adoption. And essentially, when we see where we have focused on a very simple aspect of what really blockchain will mean for us, and how can the concept of blockchain enhance the business outcome that we can derive with a technology like blockchain. And then we have discussed about what blockchains can do in India, specifically considering there are centralized databases versus blockchain, there is private blockchain versus public blockchain, and what we need to do from an India perspective to get the policy and regulatory compliances up and running so that blockchain can become a reality in India in the near future. You would have seen that in the recent past, there has been movement around blockchain from the terms that the government has come up with a draft paper of policy around blockchain. And also there was a recent news from the finance ministry talking about making digital rupee a reality in India, which is still a discussion, but that would be led by blockchain itself. So that is what we have tried to address here. What I would do now is I will ask my colleague Sumanta to just talk through about what we have covered in the blockchain, what all details we have captured, and how this can really help the industry people think about blockchain in their organizations, and how can they use this as a way to go about adopting blockchain in their business needs. Sumanta?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Sumanta. So, what basically we have done in this particular paper is, of course, there is a bit of history and there is a bit of, you know, the general understanding around blockchain, which is given. But more than that, what we have focused on this, particular paper, is talk about some of the past example of blockchain adoption in India. Talk about how the technology, from the notional understanding of blockchain through Bitcoin, etc., how it has manifested itself into a kind of a solution which multiple industries across various different domains can actually leverage to enhance the whole marketplace, as well as uh, bring more resilience and governance around the way the business is conducted, and especially the monetary or the financial transactions are conducted. So a lot of examples around that it is given, and it also ties back in terms of the adoption with the draft paper that government has launched on this particular topic. And probably this paper will be able to give the readers of this paper a holistic view around how blockchain has come into existence, how it has move through its different life cycle, and finally, in the near future, how we see that it can bring about a change in the overall industry related technology solutions. Over to you, Prashant.
Mr. Prashant, I think you are on mute.
Thank you, Srishti, for letting me know. Otherwise, I would have gone about speaking without knowing that I'm on mute. So if you look through the paper, and I'm just going to take you through page by page in terms of showing what we have done. So we've spoken about what is blockchain and what is really under the hood of the blockchain. So where most of us, when we started the journey of blockchain, really saw this as primarily an application of cryptocurrency, and that too was called Bitcoin. We didn't really differentiate between a Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency. We have come to a point that we've done justice to explain why we need to see blockchain independent of a cryptocurrency or a Bitcoin, and what is really under the hood when we do blockchain. So that's just for the readers to really appreciate and see what can a blockchain do. And then we have tried to explain what is the difference between a blockchain versus a centralized system. Many people do confuse between using blockchain for a centralized system, and essentially at times we come to a conclusion that having a blockchain is very similar to having a centralized database which can do data processing for any organization, so and keep data. So we wanted to differentiate between the use of blockchain versus using any other centralized system. The fact that is, it allows us to be decentralized, it allows us to be distributed, it allows us to have immutable records, it allows us to create trust, which essentially means trustless uh, between parties. When there is no trust, how can we work together? So that is there. We have explained that. Then we have explained, we have worked on defining how, not really defining, but how consensus mechanism in a permissionless and a permission blockchain work, which talks about proof of work, proof of stake, chain based proof of stake, etc. So we've gone about talking about that in detail. And essentially, if you see, we've also given definitions of what is proof of work versus proof of stake. So one of the key things that people have been asking questions about the energy costs. We've spoken about that in detail for people to understand how this energy cost calculations comes into play, and how does it really help people appreciate what this really energy cost means when we talk about blockchain. Then we go further into the paper. We talk about different types of blockchain. There are essentially 4 types of kind of blockchains. There's a public and a private blockchain as basic differentiation, but there's a permissionless network and a permission network. And then we've gone about giving examples of what is there in permission, what is there in permissionless, etc., etc. So people can appreciate what kind of blockchain we are referring to. Then the latest concept that has come into blockchain world is called blockchain as a service. Because when we started seeing blockchain, it was primarily every organization will end up creating their own blockchain environment. But now what we see is blockchain as a service, or BaaS, is a managed blockchain service that is becoming fairly openly available. And there are some very large key providers like IBM, Oracle. There's a EY blockchain cloud available. There is Azure blockchain. And so there are about 20 odd vendors which have been identified as key vendors by TrustRadius, which are providing blockchain as a service. So we got a small section talking about blockchain as a service and how it really helps us. Then we've gone about talking about the history of blockchain. So when did it originate? What was the first instance of blockchain back in the 90s, and how it has traversed to the journey of storing transactions, getting smart contracts in, now building applications on top of it, and in the current times when we'll be able to see marketplaces being created on blockchain. So we have spoken about that in the paper. We have discussed the structural evaluation of blockchain in detail and depth, so people can really appreciate what blockchains can do for them. Then we have spoken about features that enhance the concept of blockchain. And specifically in this space, we have spoken about forking. There's a small map about Bitcoin, folks. Anyone who's gone to London would kind of immediately relate to this kind of a map. We've discussed smart contracts. We discussed tokens and initial coin offerings. We have also discussed decentralized autonomous organizations and how they're going to function with blockchain in play. And then we have gone about discussing the application of blockchain, the immediate application of blockchain, and how any organization should look at using blockchain in their world. So that's discussed here. If you see this part of the paper really talks about increasing efficiency through decentralization and disintermediation, leveraging the ability to authenticate the identity of an individual or origin of a product, creating trust through a repository of verified immutable records. So we have discussed all these aspects. Of course, we have used enough information available in the market to provide you the best information in a single paper. And then finally, we have gone in the next section talking about what can be done for blockchains in India. So there are applications of blockchain in technology, healthcare, banking, insurance, government, which we have discussed. And then there are examples of blockchain that are currently available in India. So we would have heard about Coffee blockchain. You heard about Zebi Data, which is doing Adu blockchain. If you would have seen if anyone noticed yesterday, there was a small blip in SMS network. That was primarily because the blockchain that has been built by with TRAI went live, and all the SMS as of yesterday started getting validated through the blockchain built by TRAI. That happened yesterday. So that's also discussed here. And then finally, we've gone into a detailed discussion around, again, centralized data versus blockchains, because there is very little to choose from when we talk about permission blockchains and traditional centralized databases. It is the purpose that you put them in play that defines whether you can use a database versus a blockchain. And then, of course, permissionless blockchain or private blockchain, how they're going to function. So this allows readers to correctly identify the cost, the correctness, and the decentralization that they require before deciding between the three. And between the 3 points that are there in this triangle, once you make a right choice, then you can decide whether you want to go with a centralized traditional database or a permission blockchain or a permissionless blockchain. Yeah. And then finally, a small section about policy and regulatory compliances, jurisdiction and anonymity, data privacy and production laws, which require to be strengthened in India to really make blockchain a reality in India. I think the government is looking in the right direction right now. There is this meaty paper that got launched in the recent past. There is a link to that meaty paper here. I think there is in the top, I think the second page, there is a paper. There's a link where you can go to the meaty paper. But essentially, having that paper in play and the recent discussion that the government has started around around making rupee digital is all leading to a point that we will soon see blockchain as a reality in government usage as well, and that will automatically lead to much better acceptance of blockchain in the country. The future of blockchain, in our view, is fairly bright, and we want all the businesses and organizations to look at it and seek how they can best use this technology in their day-to-day businesses and put it to play. I'll just stop here. Rajesh, do you want to conclude here?
Yeah, thanks, Prashant. Thanks for a detailed overview. And thanks once again for partnering with IAMI to produce this valuable piece of paper. I'm sure all our audience are eagerly waiting to read the paper and gain immensely out of the insights that are contained over there. Shristi, any questions that are there? If there are any questions, we can possibly use the rest of the time to answer those questions.
I think there are none, as I could see on the screen. And we are also, over time. So that's why I just want to conclude it early. We have next
before
session.
we sign off, we may also want to tell the audience how can they access the paper. Will the link be contained on IAMI website, or how is the access mechanism enabled? Of course, I'm sure it will be there on EY's website as well. So you may want to just share those details.
So IAMI has Knowledge Center on its website, where all the research reports are immediately updated and uploaded. So from there, audiences can take the paper out.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Prashant. Thanks, Sumanta. Appreciate it. And thanks, Srishti. Bye for now.
Thank you, Srishti. Thank you, Rajesh, for helping us create this paper. Thanks a lot for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Dhuddu. Thank you, Mr. Garg and Mr. Kar, for putting it so well. Dear audience, stay tuned for more.
Thank you. Thank you, Srishti.
Thank you. Bye for now. Stay safe.